going to be the video for lab 3, lab number 3. And so in order to get your points for this video, if you're a web or remote student, same thing, I'll tell you when to take screen captures, and then you just take the captures and email them to me, and just make sure in the subject of your email you tell me what you're emailing me, and then I'll get your points into Canvas. And so what we're doing today is this is some extremely exciting stuff. Okay, I feel like, you know, where parents get excited when their children first walk. Well, if you ratcheted that up a bit, that's how I feel now with my students learning to make their very first GIS map. So that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to make a map. And so to get started, get ArcMap opened up and then add the following data. You can always pause the video to add the data. So we're going to need the FS roads, the cutting unit boundaries, and the FS ownership. Just those 3 things. And then once you have those added, zoom in to the cutting unit boundary. And then once you're zoomed into the cutting unit boundary, then we're ready to go. All right, so let's say that somebody emailed us and they wanted a map showing the Forest Service roads that are inside the cutting unit boundaries. And so this is something that we can definitely do. First, we're going to symbolize our layers a bit differently. And so I'm going to show you guys a pretty neat little trick here. And so we're going to use the actual official Forest Service green color for the ownership. And so in order to do that, we want to find what's called an RGB value. And that's a red, green, blue value. And so what I did is I just went to Google and I just Googled the official ownership colors for the U.S. Forest Service. And the Bureau of Land Management had this handy PDF here. And so what you're looking for is I go down to U.S. Forest Service, and I'm looking for 3 numbers. And it says right here, these are the RGB values right here. So we have 204, 235, and 197. So in order to use those, I can go back to my map. And I go over here to the FS ownership. I click on the symbol for that. I go to fill color. I go down to more colors. And then right here I plug those numbers in. I make sure this says RGB right here. So we had 204, 235, and 197. Okay. And click OK. Click OK. And there we go. We have the official Forest Service color in the background. And so now what I want you to do is in Google, type in your favorite sports team and type in RGB colors. And I want you to make the cutting unit boundaries the color of your favorite sports team, and then screen capture that and save that in your captures folder. And that'll be one of the captures that you send me. So while you're doing that, I am going to do the same. 3, 2, 1. So now mine are ready. And once yours are ready, you can unpause the video. So now that we have the timber cutting unit boundaries set and we have the official Forest Service color, just keep in mind that that's an extremely powerful tool to have. Is if you can find the official colors for something, you can use them on your map, and it's going to make it look pretty nice and pretty professional if you do so. And I actually know a lot of GIS people that don't know how to do that, and so they'll take the time of trying to match their colors to the official colors when all they have to do is find those values and punch them in, and they'll get the exact colors for that. So Just an important little trick of the trade there for you. And so now we have to get these roads. So this is going to kind of build off of what you learned in Trial by Fire 2, where we need to get these roads so that it's only the ones inside the units that are shown. So to do that, if you remember, it's a tool called Clip under Geoprocessing. So we go Geoprocessing, Clip, and then our input features are cookie dough, and so we can actually just drag and drop these in there. And so we're cutting our roads. Our cookie cutter is going to be our cutting unit boundary. And our output feature, we're going to put in our shapefiles folder, is going to be cutting, oops, caps lock on, cutting unit roads. And since this is Lab 3, I'm going to put Lab 3 on the end because I already have one in there from the TBF. And so cutting unit roads, Lab 3, and then I save, and I run the tool. It'll then clip, and then add them to the map. I've got the green check mark, that's good. And so I can uncheck my Forest Service roads, and I can make these roads a handy, let's see, make these roads a nice light gray color so they really pop inside the darker color for the units. There you go. Okay, and so now that we have our map set up that way, we can now start actually building the map. And so in order to build the map, I'm actually going to bump my road thickness up just a little bit. So I'm going to make them 2s instead of 1s. There we go. Okay, so at this point now, take a screenshot of this and include that in your captures, and that'll be one of the screenshots that you email me for your points. And now we're going to actually build the map here. So in order to do that, we have to be in Layout View. And so you can go up to View, Layout View, and then you can also do that down here, Data View, Layout View, right? So this here is the data frame, which we learned in the lecture. And the data frame is anything that is dropped down underneath layers here will pop up in the data frame here. And so right now, everything that we have checked on is showing up right here inside this data frame. Now we can actually stretch this out so it covers more of the paper map itself. So go ahead and just stretch that out to the edges. You don't want to take it out too far, but just take it just short of the edge. Leave the top down a little bit here because we're going to put a title up there. Okay. So now in order to begin making the map, we have to start adding what are known as elements. And each one of these elements we add is a necessary element. So you'll probably see this on a midterm at some point. What are the necessary map elements? This list here, everything we add to this map is going to be necessary. So make sure to just follow along and write down everything that we add, and that'll help you out. So the first thing we're going to add is a title. So we go up to Insert, and we insert a title. Your title should tell the viewer what your map is about. I should be able to look at a title and understand what the map is conveying from the title. But just for today, I'm going to make it something simple. I'm going to call it My First Map. You can call it whatever you want. And we click OK. It drops the title there. I can then move it up into that white space. If I need to edit this title, all I do is double click it, and you'll see I can get and edit what it says. I can click on the change symbol button and change the font size and the font. And now I've got a nice, you have to kind of look at the layout of your map to determine where the rest of your elements are going to go. And with this map, I have got a nice blank area down here. And so I think I'm going to put all the rest of the elements down there. So in order to do that, I'm going to actually first build them off of the map over here and then move them onto the map. And I'm doing that just because it's very easy to accidentally click things on the map while you're working. So if I build them over here first, I can kind of keep things clear and then just move them on when I'm ready. So we're going to add an area to work in here. So first we have to turn on the draw toolbar. So to do that, you right click in the gray area up here, right click and click on draw. And that'll bring up this toolbar here, the draw toolbar. And this is an extremely helpful toolbar for adding graphic elements to the map. Okay, so these are not feature classes. These are just graphic elements that are going to be on top of the map. And so you'll see here I could add any of these, a rectangle, a polygon, a circle, an ellipse, and so forth. I'm going to keep it at rectangle. I'm going to click that button, and then draw a rectangle. It's a nice size, about like that. It comes out as this really kind of ugly yellow color, so I'm going to double click it and change it to white. And make the outline black because it kind of comes in as a dark gray. Okay, so now if I put the rest of the elements in here, this is not a required element, this rectangle, but everything else that we're talking about here is a required element. All right, so we're going to add the next element, and that is our legend. So a legend is required. So we go to Insert, Legend. Now it works us through this creation wizard, and anything over here on the right side is going to be on the element. I can then add things from the left side. You'll see that FS Roads is not on the right side, and that's because FS Roads is not checked in the table of contents. If it were checked, it would be over here. But I can add things by clicking the single arrows, and I can remove them by clicking the single arrow back. And if I were to click the double arrows, it would add everything over or take everything off. That's pretty handy if you have numerous layers in here. I can then also change the order that they come up in. These will move them in order. Top, very top, up, down, very bottom. It's a handy rule of thumb to, in your legend, place things at polygons at the top of the legend, followed by lines. Excuse me, that's backwards. Whoa. At the very top of the legend, you want your points, and then lines, and then polygons. Unless one of the other ones, unless the lines or polygons are the actual focus of the map, then you might consider boosting them in the legend. But normally you go points, lines, and polygons in your legend. We don't have any points. So we just have our roads, and then our cutting unit boundaries, and then our Forest Service ownership. So that's good. We have lines, polygons, polygons. So I'm going to go next. This is where we could change the name of our legend. We're not too concerned with that. Go next. This is where we can add a border to our legend. You can add a border if you want. I'm not going to remove any points or anything for artistic decisions like that. We can also add a background, or a drop shadow is kind of a 3D shadow effect. I don't really like those so much. I'm going to, I'll add a border, but not a background. I'm going to keep I'm actually going to make the background white. It was transparent. Just make it white. and then we click next, and then go ahead with next, and then finish. And there it is. There's our legend. Now right now it looks terrible. It looks like I'm totally an amateur. And the reason for that is you'll notice it still has all these underscores and things in it. I changed those. So this is just pulling from my table of contents. I changed those in the table of contents and they'll change in the legend. So if I, in order to change these, you want to slowly double click on them. So I click them once and then click them again. And then I can just delete the underscores. And another rule for legends is that everything in the legend should be singular, okay, not plural, because this is the symbol for a cutting unit road, not the symbol for cutting unit roads plural, a group of roads, okay? So there we go. Cutting unit road. FS road. Now normally I wouldn't use an acronym like FS, but we're just practicing. We have cutting unit boundary. And FS ownership. I'm not sure why I changed the roads because they're the FS roads. They're not in the legend, but that's okay. FS ownership. So this doesn't break our rule about spaces because these are not folders and these are not data, okay? So remember that rule applies if we're naming folders or if we're saving data, and these aren't. These are just layers that point at the data. Okay. So now if I look at my legend, you'll see that it looks much better. Cutting unit road. Cutting unit boundary, FS ownership. Awesome. Very cool. So then I can click off of that. And now we have to add the next element is going to be a scale bar. So to add the scale bar, we go up to Insert, Scale Bar. And then we can choose, you choose whatever one you want. I'm going to pick this one here that's kind of like an upside down comb. And then I'm going to click OK. You pick whichever one you want, and then I'm going to take it and drag it over to my little box I'm working in. I'm going to put it down here. Okay. And now if it comes in as a weird unit like 1.7 miles, that's not helpful to anybody. So you just have to kind of adjust it until it comes out at a helpful interval. And so 2 miles is good. 3 wouldn't be very good. 6, 7 wouldn't be very good. But 1 mile, 2 miles, 5, 10, 20, that's all very helpful. So I've got a half mile, 1 mile, and 2 miles. You can also adjust how many divisions are there in this. We're not going to in this class, but that is helpful too. Okay, so now we have our scale bar. It's looking good. Let's add our north arrow. So we go up to Insert, North Arrow. And go ahead and take some time to pick a really good one. I'm just going to pick one fast. There's some really cool ones in there though. So far we have title, legend, north arrow, and scale bar. Instead of a scale bar, you can add scale text, which would say 1 inch to the mile. I think a scale bar is more helpful, but you need to have one of the two. And I can put my north arrow here, bump it up a little bit in size. There we go. Okay, so the next required thing is going to be created by. And so I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer to my box here to work. And so I use the layout view. Zoom into the box down here, and I'm going to put all that in the lower right of the box. And I can use the A here on the draw toolbar. So I'm going to then go created by Ethan Howard. Okay, spelled everything right. That's good. I can click on it and then move it down here. I think I can bump the size down a little bit, so I can just double click it, go change symbol, and drop the size down to 7. And okay. Okay, that's looking better. So we got created by Ethan Howard. And then, so you'll need to put that on your maps. Then we have the date. I can actually just put that below on this one. So created by Ethan Howard. Then I drop down, hit enter. Go 0 or 0, 1, 2, 1, 0. 06, 2020. So we got 10. That was supposed to be a 6, 9. Okay, 10, 6, 2020. Go ahead and click OK. And then we have to add what's called the spatial reference. So we have created by, the date, and then the spatial reference. And that's the last necessary map element. So we have title, legend, north arrow, scale bar, created by, the date, and spatial reference. You should know that. You should learn that. And so I'm going to go grab the spatial reference. We'll talk about what this means more in lecture. But to go find out what it is for this map, I'm going to double click the layers over here. And I'm going to go to the coordinate system tab. And then right here, yours should say either GCS North American 1983 or something like NAD R6 Albers, something along those lines. It's right here. And so we just copy this, right click, copy, close out of this. We can just paste it below this. So we open this up again, double click, drop down, and paste it right in there. And then I'll take the spaces out. Just because I think it looks a little better. There. Now we click OK. Now we have a nice text box here. All right, and so now if we just back out some using our layout toolbar. What if we wanted to add, this is not a necessary map element, but it's handy. What if we wanted to add the Forest Service shield right here? Okay, we can do that. So we'll go to Google and we will search for Forest Service shield logo. And then we can click on images. Let's go ahead and let's type JPEG on the end of that so it gives us only the JPEGs. So they're simpler. And then we just pick one that has a nice, you don't want one with a colored background, you want one that's white. And so we'll just pick one that has a nice, you can pick whichever one you want. I'm going to pick this one here. Click on it, and then I save it. Right click on it, and save image as. And then I can save that in my GIS103 folder underneath miscellaneous. I don't have this one set up exactly like yours, so just save it underneath your miscellaneous folder. I'm going to name it FS logo. Now to add that to my map, all I have to do is go up to Insert, Picture, and I go to my, you'll go to your miscellaneous folder where you saved it. Mine's a little bit different. I just saved it in here. Then I can grab that, hit enter, brings it in, and then I can shrink it down. It's a little pixelated at that size, so I'll shrink it down and add it right there. Okay, that's looking pretty nice. And so what if I wanted to make sure that the top of this legend, the top of the north arrow, and the Forest Service shield were all at the same point? I could sit here and eyeball it if I wanted, or I can just click the shield, hold Control, click the north arrow, and click the legend, so all three are selected. I then let go of Control, right click, go down to Align, and I can align to top, and that will align the tops of them, align top. And then same thing with the left side here. I can click on the white area to deselect everything. I can click the legend, hold Control and click the scale bar, and then I can right click and go to Align Left. Okay, that's looking pretty nice. And now if something disappears behind, like your rectangle or your shield's not showing up, you can always right click on whatever's in front, right click and go to Order, Send Backwards, or Bring Forward. And that's just in case you want your shield to be on top of something or behind something. That's how you adjust the order of the elements, okay? So now that I like this, I really like the way this looks, I'm going to group it together so it doesn't get ruined. And so to do that, I simply draw a box around it so everything's selected. And then I right click on it and click Group. And so now take a screenshot of this. And then we're going to move it onto our map. So we shift it over here. And then I'm going to zoom out on my layout toolbar so I can see the map better. Okay, that's looking pretty nice. So now these are all grouped, I can also adjust them. I can, the size and everything, but if you adjust it bigger or smaller, you will change the scale on the scale bar here. So just keep that in mind. You don't want this changing to a weird number. I'm going to actually bump the map up a little bit. I'm going to pan the data on the map up a little bit so it looks a little bit better. Just bump that up to about there. Okay, so now I should save this map document, and once I have it saved, I'm going to export it out as a PDF. All you have to do right now before we do that is take a screenshot of your whole map here. You can save it as a JPEG and send it to me with your other screen captures, and you'll get your points. But now we're going to finish up the lab by just exporting this out as a PDF. In order to do that, we just go up to File and Export Map. And then we would save it in our PDFs folder. Make sure that this is not EMF. Make sure this is PDF. Give it a name. Call it GIS103 Lab3. And then click Save. and you'll see when it saves, it runs. So do that into your PDF folder, and then send me those screenshots I asked for and the screen captures, and then you'll get your points. Okay, so that was our first map. We covered quite a bit there. Just follow along, take your time. I know I'm saying this at the end of the video, but I'm sure you guys will do fine. And I will put this up on Canvas once I get it completed. Okay, thank you guys. Bye.